Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Franklin Barbecue. Oh my God.
All
right.
Barbecued food.
We all ready? All right.
Bread like this.
Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to open the regular meeting of the Board of Directors for the Tuesday, December 12th, 2017. We'll start with a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
All right, thank you. Joanne, could you take a roll call, please?
Of course. Director Coverdell?
Enthusiastically.
Vice President Feldman?
Here.
Director Glassberg?
Here.
Director Michelson?
Yes.
President Reynolds?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any public comment slips? All right. Does anyone have anything they'd like to pull or comment on for our consent calendar? And we're noting that this month's disbursements have been reviewed by Vice President Feldman.
Found them all to be in order.
Thank you, sir.
Move to approve.
All right,
Second.
second, and could we have a roll call,
Yes,
please?
of course. Director Coverdell?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Here.
Director Glassberg?
Aye.
Director Michelson?
Aye.
President Reynolds? Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any directors' comments or meetings attended? Chris?
Yeah, I did have a BOSCA meeting. There are two looming issues out there that could really severely affect our water supply sources. One is the Bay Delta Plan, and then the other is the FERC relicensing of the new Don Pedro, and they're obviously tied together because they both relate to the flows on the Tuolumne. So from a legal perspective, we have decided to intervene in the FERC relicensing, and that's about as far as I can go. I really can't lay out our strategy, our super secret strategy. So we already. The good news is all the legal fees for your esteemed firm have been already included in the BOSCA budget.
Oh, good.
So and they did figure that there was enough there. So we're not going to see a big spike. It depends how long.
You don't trust that.
That's not good news.
Yeah, that's
Just kidding. Just kidding. Only kidding. Only kidding.
But it's just the timelines.
I wouldn't
I don't
believe that
think
for a
any of
minute.
us. By the time this is really figured out, we may have completely new people in these seats. That's kind of the downside. Calaveras is. God, there's another geological issue there. I tell
Seriously?
you,
They're late in the game to
they
be.
couldn't have done enough test boring there.
Wow.
They hit. It's a earthen dam, so the area in which they're quarrying to create the earthen dam, they found shale, and shale doesn't meet spec. So the dam is 100 feet high. They're aiming for 200. So they're going to have do a little more test boring and maybe.
So
quarry
basically, they
elsewhere.
need to go somewhere else to get the fill to make the.
Yeah, still on site, like they found, ancient slides when they were doing the spillway. So it's still going to be on site, but they're going to have to probably do more test borings and just harvest the soil from somewhere else on
Does
site.
this mean there'll be another price increase?
No, it's they don't have a number. They don't have a number on it yet, but it's about a year away. They're still optimistic. It's only a year away. We'll see.
Heard that before.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. The WISP is 95% done. And the completion was like 2020 or so. I think a lot of it has to do with the mitigation on Alameda Creek. That's just, the mitigation part is just, it's an open-ended checkbook, and, the agencies, I'm sure, are all intoxicated by, the potential for funds from, SFPUC. So the actual, infrastructure is for the most part done, but we're not going to be cutting a ribbon at 100% until the Alameda Creek is, and I don't know if it'll ever end yet. But that was it.
Well, thank you. Bob?
No meetings.
Ken?
Yeah, because, the frustrating thing about that is Calaveras is only 28% full. And that's the issue, is that if it were really full, the total system would be looking, we're 74%, 73.3 or something like that, which is pretty good, considering 4 or 5 years of drought and 1 year of rain. But it's Calaveras that's really the significant holding.
Yeah, so it could take years for it to fill. We're gonna need a couple good water years in a row to fill it. So I don't know if we're really losing capacity yet, but yeah, the day will be nice when it's at 100% and, the 200-foot berm there holding it back. But we need rain now.
There's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yep.
I think we should have an agenda edition where we do a rain dance. And,
Perfect. I'm looking forward to you leading it and providing us costumes.
I got a couple moves.
I'll bet you do. I have two things. One that came up that was new to me, and there's good news and bad news. The state, and maybe you guys already know this, the state has announced, or I don't know if I didn't hear the announcement, but I was told today that the state is now requiring lead testing in schools. And so it's no longer optional. The law I was familiar with was working under was that schools could request lead testing, and the water district would then be required to do that lead testing. The schools have been lackluster in their response to this program, so I was told both last Friday and again today in Sacramento, that it's now a law on the books that they're requiring the lead testing. But I promised you good news. I was also told that there's money for the school. Apparently the cause of problem has been that the schools didn't want to test because they didn't have any money to fix anything. And yeah, I know, crazy, but that's
The 6th largest economy in the world.
right. So apparently the state has said now that they have money to fix. So I'm gonna follow up and find out more where that is.
What do you know? Do you know anything locally? Do we know anything locally? Cabrillo, have they tested at all? Or?
Have not received a request from Cabrillo, as far as I know.
I'm in charge of Lassen County, and we've had one school request testing. And so we had Lassen Community College did an outreach to, and what it looks like is going on is the schools didn't want to test because they felt that they couldn't afford to fix it if it was bad.
What potential sources?
So there's two that have been come up front and center, and one is quite old, and that is many years ago, the chilled reservoirs on refrigerated water fountains were soldered together with a lead solder. So the tanks and the water sat in there for a long time, and so you could get an elevated lead count from those. And it's true, they cost about $2,000 to replace those refrigerated fountains that you see. So that's cause number one. The second cause that's been coming up has been, and this is grim, but I will explain it. It is illegal to use lead solder in plumbing. It is legal to purchase lead solder. So it's sold in the hardware store right next to the no lead solder. And it has one of those really helpful, sarcasm, California stickers that says, don't use this on plumbing. But the lead solder is easier to use than the no lead solder, and there's no way for a plumbing inspector to see the difference when they're inspecting a job. And so several schools that and facilities that I've reviewed, it's been a case where you could literally tell one plumber did 6 fixtures. So let's say they had 32 faucets that we tested, 6 of them in one group all test positive for lead. The remainder are non-detect. Now the interesting part is it's really cheap to cut those out and replace them. It's not an expensive thing. It just needs to be done. And so the good news is that apparently the state is putting some money behind that. I will follow up and find out how we know about the money
So the reason I asked, I was kind of guessing that it's happening on site, it's not coming from the water providers.
Correct, absolutely, yep. And we test, the public water utilities test at what are considered worst-case locations for lead, and so it's the only testing that's done at the faucet of a house. Otherwise, we terminate our service at the meter and say it's yours from there on out, except for copper and lead. And that's done, and most California utilities fare very well on that testing. The ones that have done very badly, obviously Flint, but 10 years before that, Washington DC failed very badly on that, and those are big no-brainers that are well-known, but it's not a huge issue. But don't sit on your laurels. City of Burlingame has lead services that they're still removing. San Francisco has lead services that they're still removing. So there is lead in California, it's just not front and center. And that's it.
Wonder if the kids could drink warm water.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was.
It's a really good
Of course they could.
I've never worked in a K-12 school district in 37 years that had refrigerated drinking fountains.
Yeah, I'd remove them anyway.
Maybe community colleges do. Who put in such
In the
luxuries?
Central Valley, they're pretty common because it's hot, and so they've got, little, and they're not new, these are usually.
Worst ever
older.
sells bubble gum in them.
Yeah, right.
So is the moral of the story that we will likely not have to face this as an issue?
We-
Or is there something
no,
we need to
our team will
think
have-
about that we should be thinking about doing to make sure that we're ready to
Yeah,
deal with whatever comes? I'm just trying to understand,
so we-
what is the instruction here?
Coastside County Water District currently does lead testing for our distribution,
Right.
and it sounds like in the future, we will need to roll out lead testing for the schools.
So that's the moral of the story, is that we should consider that as a longer-term need, because I know we do it.
Yep.
For the
Yep.
housing.
What's the test cost? Do you know?
$30 is what my cost is. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's a good heads up.
God, the school can't spend $32.
It's a good heads up, so we're
I don't think the testing was the issue.
Yeah,
It was
it's-
the repair.
Yeah, but it just, I mean, it beats finding out 10 years from now when
Yeah.
we have,
Poisoning the kids.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
All right, sorry, we digress, but it's certainly a current topic, though, so
Right.
thank you.
Yeah. And then the only other one that I would share, and I've been tasked with doing a sexual harassment guidance for small utilities, and I will certainly share that with Coastside County Water District. Maybe they can vet it for me and see if they like it.
So based on experience, or
Fortunately, no.
how do you get hired for something like that?
I haven't been hired. This is a voluntary position. 4 women who are in the water industry asked me to champion it.
Wow,
So I said I would.
congratulations.
Sort of. I don't have, yeah. It's gonna be a team effort, and I would put it out, anybody who wants to help, I would love to have it. All right. Our next meeting of a business, we have a general business. We need to elect a Coastside County Water District Board President and Vice President. Do we have any nominations?
I move we nominate Bob Feldman for president of the district.
Second?
Okay. You want to do a roll call? Oh, wait, can we do a vice president at the same time?
You could if you wanted to.
Okay, let's do a vice
Oh,
president.
slight.
Who hasn't been a vice president?
I'd like to nominate Ken Covered.
Okay, I'll second it, perfect. Before we have any objections, anybody, other? All right, Joanne, quick, whip out a roll call.
Somebody should make a motion
Oh, sorry.
for both of these in one action, and then second it, and then, because that was just the nominations.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that Bob be president, Ken be vice president. We'll call it the Bob and Ken team.
Okay, somebody second that motion?
Second it. Joanne, sing it out.
Yes, Director Coverdell?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Aye.
Director Glassbert?
Aye.
Director Michelson?
Yes.
President Reynolds?
Sure. All right. Do we
Thank
change
you.
seats now?
Thank you, I'm honored.
No,
No,
Okay,
January.
all right.
although Mueller would have insisted on it.
Well, there was a law judge that came one time, and we actually
Switch.
changed in
Oh,
December.
yeah, I know that,
It's
yeah.
fairly obnoxious,
Yeah.
but that's how it went down.
All right.
Huh?
Pretty ugly, wasn't it?
Brutal.
It was sort of like, really?
You changed or you didn't change?
Now we changed right on the spot.
Wow.
An administrative law judge showed up in the meeting. And that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes. And now do we thank the exiting
Yeah,
officers?
It's up to you, it's up to the board.
So I just want to take a minute to compliment Glenn. I was a little hesitant, no, I'm just kidding. I think you've done a marvelous job, and it's, I remember the first time I ever met you, which was on the bus ride to tour the Hetchy system. And I think we were, I don't know, we might have been all the way up at the top, just about ready to go down into the valley. And
You were getting your swim trunks out, I think.
Well, you better believe it, because it was warm. But I remember listening to you, and I remember hearing all the sorts of connections and things that you've been involved in with water. And I can remember at the time sort of feeling intimidated and thinking, oh my gosh, this guy knows so much, how could you possibly be involved with water if you didn't know as much as this guy did? But I've really found you to be easy to work with, easy to communicate with, extremely accessible, motivated, dedicated to the district. I think your involvement at the in the harbor with the issue that we had going on there with some water use changes. I just think you've stepped up and really done an admirable job for the district. And I, for one, would like to thank you for your service and tell you that great job.
Ken, thanks.
I second that.
I'm honored to be here and part of a really cool team, and this is very much a team effort, and so thank you.
Thank you.
I would say your legacy will be, what is it, AMIs? Is that the latest acronym for our radio meters? That you really made a case and got a 5-0 from this board to go to automated meters. I think that will be, I will absolutely give you that one. That was, and to me, that's huge, because I mean, especially the whole brouhaha we went through over billings and all that. I can't wait till our customers have apps, can watch their meter in virtually real time, and I will solely thank you for bringing it and selling it to the board, because I was just waiting for, I knew, we all knew the technology was looming out there, but nobody wants to be the beta. And you, I think, made the case that it was no longer beta, this was a viable technology, and we were ready to go, and that's quite a legacy. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks. Much appreciated.
I had some concerns over time about Glenn's proclivity for getting into details. However, on the other side, I do have to say that I'm impressed with the level of attention and the amount of effort he put into getting into some of the detailed issues that we had, that you mentioned, about meters and things, and personally taking it upon himself to try and figure out how to make that work for us, and he did it.
Yeah.
So there's both sides of the coin. A weakness extended can become a strength. So that's my point.
I can only say I'm really honored to work with such a great team, and I really appreciate you guys being such both mentors. I know both of you have been president, and I really am really honored to be working with you, so thank you. Yeah, thanks.
And I'll add the staff's appreciation for the way he's worked with, the way that President Reynolds has worked with us and really provided us with some hands-on advice. We still have some pieces of his equipment out here that he's kindly loaned us. That was, his knowledge has really helped us, and we really appreciate the support on the staff's multi-year initiative to moving toward AMI. It'll make a big difference for the district. We're very excited about it, as you'll hear in our next report.
Great. Well, let's move on.
Can I make one more comment? So then I also wanted to thank Bob for coming back on the board.
Yeah.
And being involved in the board and stepping up to a leadership role, because I remember sitting with Bob beside Cunha's store having lunch one day in the sunshine, talking about, are you really gonna quit? And he was telling me that he had grandchildren, and it was time to raise the grandchildren, and he wanted to spend time with his wife, and, you know, he put in his time, and it was time to vacate and have some fun. And it was great to see, in my opinion, Bob step up and come back, and, you know, especially because he's very concerned about our economic efforts and the condition of the business aspect of the district. And I've always appreciated the Feldman factor, which we have to take into account when we're doing the budget and we're looking at our annual income and expenses and trying to figure out how to, you know, make it a great place to buy water and yet still maintain all the things that we need to do a wonderful job. And so I'd really like to thank Bob, because I think he was really happy to be out. And it's nice to see him take this vice president and then stepping up to the presidential role. And so I just wanted to tell Bob thanks as well. And, you know, I've been around way too long, but it's just great, the quality of the people that come back to me is really impressive. You know, I see a lot of boards, and they talk about turning over the boards and, you know, new blood and blah, 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 but I think sometimes there's a lot of wisdom from people who have a history and step back up. So I just wanted to thank Bob personally for that.
It's a good group. Yeah.
Excellent, well, thank you. All right, we have the Assistant General Manager's report.
All right.
And the manager's relegated to changing the slides. That's good. That's a good thing.
Are you up to the task?
Yep.
I'll try.
Okay, AMI.
Who's that
Congratulations.
handsome guy?
So, we've, you know, as of today, PMI has installed 1,300 meters.
Wow.
And so altogether, we have about 2,300 meters now in the district. We're with AMI, so about a third of our meters. So we should be done by early April. So, it's, you know, things are going smoothly. You know, we have a few hiccups here and there. What?
They installed 300 since Friday.
Yeah.
That's
They
pretty-
install, they can get,
No, I'm
yeah,
just-
yeah,
I noticed your number.
yeah. So,
So they should finish in about 2 weeks.
they vary, but it's good. But it's, you know, and we've had, you know, relatively few problems. We do have some things where our guys have to go out and fix broken angle stops and things, but it's been controllable to date. So it's good. We also, you know, we have done a fair amount of outreach, and I'll say that Kathleen has done a fair amount of outreach, but we've also added, Gina is also sending out emails to customers like 2 weeks ahead of time when we know we're going to be installing, just to give an extra heads up. That was a recommendation by a complaint that we had, so we, you know, we followed up on that. And so if we have the email, we'll send out a notice, so.
So the November, December billing, this 2 months,
Right.
will be partially based on old meters in some cases and new meters. And there's a way that you guys are gonna magically get those together seamlessly.
Yeah,
And put out a bill that would be exactly the same as if it were one meter, the old meter, or the new meter for the whole time.
we have that
Is that
figured out.
correct?
Yes, that's
Because you're
correct.
gonna do it on a bi-monthly basis still.
It'll be bi-monthly.
You can't do monthly until some future time when they're all there.
After,
I'm
yeah,
just-
after we swap out all the meters,
Right.
and, you know, we have a track record with these.
Sure.
But, you know, what happened with what was so great with PMI is they have a back-end database that they actually then have a file that uploads to our billing system. And that file does the meter swap, so we really don't, you know, so it's, you know, we have a lot of control,
Mhm.
you know, and, you know, make sure that the swaps are, you know, accurate, so.
Right. And the numbers are accurate.
Yeah, so, so it'll
It should
be,
be seamless.
yes. So the one thing that's really exciting is, we're starting to see data. And so this, so we are going to be, we're in the process of getting WaterSmart up and going, but this information is coming from Aclara. And so this is an example of what we see in Aclara for a normal residential customer. You see some, during the day, during a 24-hour period, you're going to get, your usage is going to go down to 0 at some point during the night likely, and then it'll go up when people take showers, irrigate. And so, this is a typical. If you go to the next one, and I had included this one in in my staff report, but this is an example where you can see a leak. Well, you can see a situation that's likely a leak that is growing, which we all know, that's leaks grow. So with this story is saying that for this customer, they're losing about 10 gallons every hour. So 240 gallons of water a day. In 3 days, they've used a unit of water. And so they'll, this is, so, in a 60-day period, they're going to have, several $100s added to their bill if this, assuming this is a leak. So, yes.
Each one of the dots at the bottom, or the deltas, or whatever they are those hourly?
Those are hourly reads.
Like 1 hour?
1 hour, every hour. So
Every single hour. So when you see a spike like that, that spike occurred in an hour?
Correct.
And so, wow, that's an unusual way to spike up, isn't it?
Well,
yeah.
it means like they've used 40 gallons in an hour.
Right.
So if someone took a shower,
Yeah.
you would see that. Or, used wash clothes, or you could see, various
Can you
substances.
scroll back just so
So
we
the
can?
leakage
Oh,
is
sorry.
because it never goes to 0?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
see,
exactly.
you see
There
here
you
where
go.
it bottoms out. I'm pointing at your forehead, but
I see.
it bottoms out and there's 0 flow.
I got
But a
it.
leak cannot ever stop.
It's
So,
0, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So,
When you say the hours, doesn't it go below 8 gallons per hour? For what period?
So-
During the day?
well, you look at it, you'll see it never zeros. It never comes down to 0, which means there's water flowing continuously.
Yeah.
And so that indicates a leak.
Yeah, I mean, this,
Oh, this is the one that's broken.
Yeah, this one's leaking. The
Yeah,
one
but
before
the
was
normal
not.
one.
the normal one's not, likely not, yeah,
No,
Yeah.
no, no, I
No,
mean,
we're not
when you're not, at
leaking.
night it's not flowing.
yeah.
Okay, this is the leaking one.
This
This
is
is
the
the
leaky
You
one.
said 8 gallons, never goes below 8 gallons per hour.
Yeah, well, it's grown to, yes. And
Starts at about,
It
yeah,
starts
Oh,
at
in
8
this
and
example.
And it goes
Yeah,
to
it's
Right,
an
in this
example.
exam, I'm sorry, I just thought it was interesting, I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
in this one, you can tell.
Yeah.
Do you get is there an alarm of some sort on the system that allow?
I think
that will-
it sends it directly to the director's cell phones, right? So
No,
we
I'm just
get a beep.
asking.
Only to Glenn Reynolds.
Is there an alarm of some
Henley.
sort or some way that they notify,
Yeah.
the system tells you that there's
So-
this abnormality, or do you have to go through this pretty much and see it? That's all.
well, in the future,
Right.
we're working to get WaterSmart up and
Right.
going,
Mhm.
so we will have criteria where we can come in every day and look at, what are issues.
You can set
um,
limits.
And we can set limits. Right now, in Aclara, we have reports that actually are that we've set up to run every day, so we can go in and see, it'll show customers with constant usage over how many periods. So we have to go in and analyze it a
Oh,
little,
okay,
a little
you
bit
do-
more.
you do that.
So we're doing that, but we'll have a much easier
Okay.
tool with WaterSmart.
And how many do you think you can process on a daily basis? Will somebody be assigned to
Yeah,
500 or 600 per day? Or will we get through the whole district in a month or 2 months? Or
Well, hopefully not everybody leaks, and, I mean, within this, right now we have, 2,300 meters in the system, and we really, we don't have very many, that are, that have problems like this.
But the WaterSmart software will actually take all of this data and
And-
flag the ones that it thinks has
Oh,
a
so it'll
problem.
actually communicate?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
then
will
we
it
can-
communicate to someone in our office, or will it communicate to the homeowner, or both, or?
Ultimately, both.
Oh, great.
Eventually,
Oh, cool.
both.
Oh,
People will be
cool.
able to go into the web portal eventually and set alarms, so they can say,
That's there'll
send
be
me a
alarms
text.
eventually.
Right.
Right, send me a text
Now
if
it's analysis.
you think I have a leak.
Yeah,
We
wow.
found this by analysis.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
cool.
well, we have we have a report and then analyzing the reports.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Okay.
And so it's
CNN's giving
good.
it to Jones.
So,
Okay.
anyway, it's lots
Very
of promising,
exciting.
yeah, very exciting. I have a few more examples we can just go through quickly. You can see this one. This person, I think, this was a person had moved out and a new person came in. And I think if you look at before this, it looked like somebody had maybe gone in and used, maybe used a toilet or something in the, and it didn't, and, I mean, I'm surmising, I'm guessing, but
Right.
yeah. But then the new people moved in. We did call them, but they came down a little bit, but it looks like they still have a leak, so.
Okay, that's a leak, I got you.
so-
The bad news is our revenue is going to go down. The good news is we're going to be doing a much better job of conserving water.
And remember, the new meters that are going in are 5% better than the old meters, so that should offset some of our
Offset a
losses.
little bit.
Yeah.
The numbers,
Right.
the numbers from our representative sample showed a 1.5% discrepancy, so that, we weren't quite 5%.
No.
But I think some people will be, there'll be people who'll be surprised. We're looking forward to really tracking down some of the zero reads that have been hard for us to find, and other sort of anomalies in our billings. So some customers now will be getting a more appropriate bill, and it'll be higher, but it's really good for us to be able to, we spend a lot of time in customer service with folks who get unexpectedly high bills for reasons like that. I mean, that, a 10-gallon-an-hour leak, as Mary says, will be hundreds of dollars on a bill. It's just a very bad surprise to get.
I got tracked down this last month by a neighbor who was totally traumatized that he had put a backflow device in. The water line leaked, and he got a $400 water bill and was furious that he'd gotten it. And the best position I could take was to say, we're worried about you, and so we've invested in software that will be able to flag this ahead of time to reduce this risk in the future.
Real time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, look at that beautiful pumps.
The patio looks still,
Oh, that was an older picture.
And
Sorry.
you've landscaped by now, right? Screen this?
In keeping
have-
with the surrounding
That building is
landscape.
new?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a brand new building.
That's our new pump
next to our
station.
Who
other
did it?
pump-
Who did it?
Stolowski.
He did the block?
Well, sub
Well,
did the
his
block.
sub, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that involved.
Yeah, I don't know who the sub was.
So, as we're looking at mid-year, we wanted to update everyone on how far we've come on our capital projects. So, we're still, we haven't done the notice of completion yet because we have some issues with the pump. But basically, we're up, about there with Denniston Booster Pump Station, and, earlier in the year, we did the Bridgeport Drive pipeline project that really, the combination is really allowing us to use Denniston. And so, I really wanted to highlight this because this is a project that we're really getting, we're really going to get our return on our investment, very quickly. When you look at that, the cost of San Francisco water to us is about, just the water itself is $5,000 per million gallons. So, when we can increase the volumes, it's just money in our pocket. So if we go to the next slide, I did, this is in the monthly report. This is for the years of what we've, the water that we put through Nunes versus Denniston, and so this was, as through the through 2016-17. And I'll just highlight that the one thing here is that, you're looking at, as of, the end of last fiscal year, we're 121 million gallons, which actually include a kind of an increase because of the Bridgeport pipeline. But if you go to the next one, and this is, again, is in the monthly report, you'll see that just for the 5 months, we've done, we have 111 million gallons coming out of Denniston. So we'll be, we're on a track record to, get to 200. I will say on a calendar year basis, we're at 200 in December, which is really exciting. So, you're seeing that, what we've, I realize we had drought and, construction and various things in some of these numbers, but we're just, if we're, you're looking at, we're getting, 250 to 500,000 in our, added, in our reduced costs from prior
You're
years.
saying we save 5K per million gallons?
Yeah.
So that's
So
$1
what
million
am-
bucks
what-
right
What
there.
am I, missing here?
It's $1 million
Because
bucks
a
in a
million
year.
times, it's 5 times 200 is a million
Right.
a year, not 250 to
Oh, yeah,
500.
Well, I was
Yeah,
being
yeah.
conservative, saying what we,
no, I'm just asking.
but over and above what we were, we were, like, last year, 100 million gallons, and now, or 100.
Well, this fiscal year coming.
Yeah.
The fiscal year we're in will be
yeah,
200.
We could be on track for 200.
$1 million, you're
yeah.
talking $1 million
An
reduction?
incremental, cost
No,
saving.
you're being conservative.
Yeah.
Okay. So we could save a few bucks.
We're saving,
So
yeah.
that the investment we put into Denniston, both in the plant and in the pump
Bridgeport.
station and all this other stuff, has, after all, paid off
Yep.
in terms of reducing our dependence on SFPUC water, giving us potentially more independence, and hopefully at some point saving the customers money,
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It may
So-
take it takes a few years, I mean, we're not talking overnight.
Yeah,
This
but
is-
it's just, it's.
This is a
this is great.
7-year type payback,
Yeah.
but it's working.
And it's
So
been
our-
great with the staff, I mean, I'll say with,
I don't know. It's
Our financial projections that we started with 5 or 6 years ago when we went into the Denniston project said that we would produce 200 million a year from Denniston, and we're on target.
Right.
And there's an upside as well in good water years. There's an upside. So, everything over that is beyond our financial projections, which were good in any case. And as somebody pointed out recently, we've had, you get the production report every week, and there's at least 1 week where 90% of our water was produced from district-owned sources. So
Yeah, I
that's,
saw that.
Last week.
that's something that hasn't happened very often. And for short periods, we've been able to shut off San Francisco entirely. And in the future, we hope to, do that a little bit more.
Well, the other good news is that overall, between SFPC and our local sources, we're selling more water at this time this year than we were last year.
yeah.
Right, and you can
That
see
stays
that
on track.
in the cumulative production.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's good news.
Yeah, I have one more slide on that. This one, it's hard, like, I know this is busy, if you look at the red line, it shows our year-to-date, what percentage of, year-to-date, we're 42% of our water has come from local sources.
Local sources.
Right.
So,
Good.
that's great. I think
The
it's-
guy in the red shirt
Yeah.
back there gets the applause, yeah.
Are we going to have a ribbon cutting for the pumping station?
Not until we paint the door to match the block work. I think the aesthetics of that building are.
We did one
We
for
do.
we did one for the plant, though.
As soon as we do a notice of completion.
Where's completion?
As soon as we get the contractor out of there,
Where's
yes.
completion?
And resolve everything.
But last month, you approved the notice of completion for Elginata Tank 3. And these pictures were just taken on Friday, and it looks beautiful. I think we have.
We need before and after pictures, that would be good.
I still want to see a big stencil 3 on these tanks, or I want our
Yeah,
tanks
that'd be
numbered,
nice.
so when
I don't know if the neighbors would like that, though.
That's true.
Well, we could do it in pastel, or I don't know.
The neighbors would not
Something
like it,
like
I think. Right?
So you finally convinced the contractor there were better places to spend time?
Yeah.
We got it worked out. That took a long time to get that one
Yeah,
completed.
Yeah,
but it's done, so we're excited.
Getting
We
emails,
started,
that's a good sign.
downtown Half Moon Bay with the replacement of 2-inch pipe. This is on Miramontes and from, work on, this was taken as a Friday, so.
The work on Miramontes is actually in the county and not in the city. And so we'll be there another week or two, and then we'll be starting in the city.
Nice. That's Andrini right there?
Mhm.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
They're really efficient.
Yeah,
How long
so-
will it take them to do this?
What do you think, what's their expected completion? I haven't heard that. On Miramontes, right,
But the rest of,
right. And that's, what, 400 or 500 feet, Miramontes? The total project is 2,500, something
Yeah.
like that. But in little segments all over the place.
They'll be done right up
Yeah.
until the rain starts.
I imagine they'll be working till March. Seems like that'd just be,
Yeah, I think we put that in the notice.
yeah.
Nice. Great to see that capital improvement.
Yeah,
money
it's,
spent.
once this project is completed, it will still have some pieces of 2-inch. There's a 2-inch main right on, going down.
Yeah, please don't
yeah,
replace that, we're
yeah,
fine.
Purissima.
We're fine.
But
I just
this,
wanna pave the road.
replacing the 2-inch downtown will address concerns we've had about the effect of increasing the pressure downtown, which we hope to do someday.
and, a few months ago, we finished up the interim straw flower pipeline project, which allowed us not to have, be able to, isolate Burger King section if we had a problem with water. So that was done successfully. That was another successful project. You can-
A very challenging,
And
successful
challenging.
project.
Is that the relocation project? The housing relocation
Uh,
project, or this across the street?
Housing
I'm sorry.
relocation?
I'm sorry, I was being obscure.
Yeah, yeah.
Last month, we had, the Highway 92 pipeline replacement, La Nevia, and our great planned continuation with our, of the pipe, so very exciting. Okay, this is something, and we've done some temporary fix, and I don't know if James wants to speak to this, but I show the before and after picture with our stabilization, project, so.
Great job, I like it.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
what did we spend on doing this?
Very little.
26,000.
We did the same
But
thing.
there's-
So
Yeah.
less than the 250,000 engineering
Well, that was
proposal.
just-
Well, this is just a stopgap. This is
That's
just
temporary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
getting the
Stopgap.
dirt away from the tank and
Right. No, that's
putting these
good.
How
little
many
blocks
years
in
can we
here.
let this go?
Years.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's all leftover concrete. When they have concrete left over on a job, they bring it back and pour it into a form and build those blocks. That'll last.
Perfect.
And structurally, that's
You
sufficiently,
can actually
That'll
calculate the
keep the-
resistance
I
of
mean,
those
that'll,
things.
that'll.
What's
hold
more
that
than
back.
the sacks
Yeah. that-
originally.
Yeah, which lasted, what, 40 years?
Yeah,
So,
that's
We
my-
should get
that's
80
my-
years out of
Yeah,
this.
that's my thinking.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like that. Hey, do we
Oh,
get to go for an evening
badass
spin?
truck. Wow.
James, do we got the keys?
Got the keys, but I'm not B licensed, so
Oh.
if you guys are B licensed, we can't.
How many guys are B licensed?
Kathleen, you got
All
your B
of the-
license yet?
No.
Oh, we got,
All the field crew.
Oh, okay.
They're all gonna be like,
We need flames in the truck.
So we'll have an if,
Did you see the motor specs? These guys spec the biggest motor.
Well, it's 12 cylinder, isn't it?
The truck's gonna get there in a
this
hurry.
thing is,
we'll have an opportunity to look at it after the meeting if you'd like to stop by on your way
Does it have
out.
strobe lights and stuff? we
Oh,
can
yeah,
turn
we've
on?
got it,
Perfect.
I think we have a ribbon cutting.
it's got everything.
We should go for ice cream.
So that's it. Yeah.
That's what I want
We're gonna have
showing
to
up.
have a ribbon cutting
I
ceremony.
want showing up at a
Put
refinery.
a plaque on it.
We have in the parade, yeah.
I know you
Good thing that
already
was
spoke
agenda,
about WISIP, but I do have the handout, the annual report.
Talk to Dave about
That's the fluffy version. I gave you the down.
Yeah, we got the down and dirty. All right, thank
So it's
you.
95% complete, you started with that. Do you have, are you in the know with the San Mateo people about the finishing of that little piece of road that goes on 92 through Skyline that's supposed to go by the reservoir?
The running
little detour.
trail?
No, the little detour.
Oh, no,
Or the bridge?
They're building the bridge, man. They're doing the road right now.
Oh, do they?
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like two-
But that falls on County San Mateo.
I said that.
Yeah, so
Do you
that,
know anybody there that knows when?
well,
they're gonna
you
finish?
know,
Public Works
It's
is
taking
small.
longer to do that than to
Just-
do.
it's close.
No,
You-
it's
you
because
can-
they're putting a road on a bridge.
they're doing a road bed now.
I
but
know,
the-
it's incredible complex what they're doing.
Where is this?
It'll take 4 or 5 more years.
Replacing the road over the dam, Pillar Cedars Dam.
I meant that.
Not Pillar Cedars Dam.
Oh,
Crystal Springs Dam.
Okay.
And the county was not happy about it.
So
But
they're doing it.
it fell on them, and it
It's
was.
a big job. Okay, I
It's
didn't. I
very
didn't know.
expensive,
And very big.
yeah. But it's close. I was a passenger in a higher vehicle a couple weeks ago, and so I actually had the opportunity to look down on it, and it's close.
It's
Yeah,
like
they're pouring the
forever.
they're pouring
Oh,
concrete in the
yeah.
buttresses
Cool.
and stuff. yeah.
All right,
Hey, I'm
back
happy.
on. James, are you ready to tell us
Things are worth
what
it.
excitement we've got?
Ready.
All right, let's,
Good evening, board members. We've covered quite a few topics here already through Mary's presentation. As you saw, EG tank temporary slide stabilization is complete. I do want to emphasize temporary. EG tank 1, we...
80 years.
Kind of like that pipe going to Stone Dam?
Yeah.
temporary.
We rebuilt an altitude valve to EG1, and one of the highlights I really want to focus on is in November 16th, I'm not sure if you know, but when we have rain events, the turbidity for Denniston causes us to shut down. We have a 50 NTU influent limit. And we had the storm that came in kind of at the perfect time, and Sean and the other treatment staff decided to put it in manual mode, and we could watch it as it approached 50 but didn't hit 50 NTUs on the influent. And many months back, we wrote a letter to DDW asking for an increase on our influent turbidity allowance for us to keep operating through storm events. So they stayed there all day until about 8 o'clock at night and collected some very valuable data that supports our theory that we could produce water with much higher turbidities than 50 NTUs and not have to shut down the plant. We've requested 100, assuming that they'll probably give us 75.
Cool.
But we want to warm them up to the idea that we would like to do some more testing and have them consider us running the plant at higher influent NTUs and showing that we can continue operating and produce very high quality
How
water.
high did you get in the test?
We got to about just approaching .1. Well, we right at 49.
No.
49 coming in, finished water about .1, right? 0.073.
and the limit is .3, so we're well under.
So how high do you think could you go to 100? mean,
I think we could.
But you haven't tested it yet.
We're not allowed to. At 50s, we have to shut down.
Oh, you do.
Oh, you
still-
Manual or not.
You couldn't run a test
You're
and
just
like
trying to
divert it
prove-
back to the storage pond or
You're trying
something
to
like
prove-
that, or.
We're not set up for that.
You're trying to show what the quality on the outflow is, to show that if you went higher, you would still be under the limit of 310.
Yeah, so it's really
You're
good
just trying to
data.
get data to show how it's coming out.
Exactly, and
50.
now we have spreadsheets and we're set up to do it when
So
there's
if they give
storm
you
events come.
permission to go up a bit, like 75, you think, and then you'll have to show them what you get?
Yes.
I mean, it would be a process of,
It's usually a provisional permit.
Okay,
so
I see. No, I
they
understand.
let you do it for a year, and then they make it permanent.
Well, good luck.
Our design objective was 50, I think, wasn't it? So that was our, the contact clarifiers had a design objective of 50. So if we've proven the design works, and it's possible that we could go significantly higher.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
And
fantastic.
the old limit was 20.
Wow. Wow.
When will you know if they'll give you that ability to go higher?
They were out in October for our annual inspection. We're waiting for that report to come
Okay.
in before we bring it up again. We want to see what they have to say
Okay.
about us first. So
All right.
that's really the highlight. We're currently getting 350 gallons per minute from the Pillar Cetos wells. Last week, we were getting 300. And just an update on the downtown 2-inch main replacement project. We'll be moving to Correa Street after we're done with the east side of Miramontes.
Wow.
Good,
If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
All right. Chapter 8 is blank, chapter 9 is blank, and,
Water resources.
Yeah, water resources.
Boston.
And it's so early. Kathleen
Yeah.
Kathleen's early.
how did I oh, Kathleen, you're
Oh,
chapter C. C.
So I have a very brief report. I was privileged enough to go to the North American Water Loss Conference down in San Diego. So it was everyone all over the United States, plus even had people from Europe and Asia attending also. So it was very interesting. There was different tracks, sessions that you could go in, and I mainly stayed with the regulatory and the metering sessions, but there were also sessions on the financial side of water loss, pressure management, on leak repairs, leak detection. So depending on what your specialty was, there was a little something for everybody. So maybe they don't do this every year, it's every other year, but hopefully I can convince a coworker to attend so that we can attend multiple sessions and learn a little bit more. But it was very good.
Is it normally here in the U.S.?
The North American one, yeah, it moves around. I think
Okay, so
previously it
North
was in
American.
Georgia. So it was nice, it was in California this year, which made it much easier for me to attend.
That's Canada.
But there's also an international water loss one, and in 2018, it will be in South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, but
I'm going to that one.
That's a long
Shade for that
long
one.
flight.
How many times you gotta stop to cross the ocean in that thing?
A lot. Reynolds Air has not perfected the transatlantic flight
Thus
yet.
far, this December, half of November, we've had a high-pressure ridge here in the west coast, which
yeah.
is beginning to look suspiciously
Yeah,
like a ridge we saw about 2 years ago.
yeah.
And my concern is, I mean, you know, it's probably premature, but a concern nevertheless that it's pretty strong. It's maintained itself for a while. December hasn't looked anything like the rain we've seen previously, nor did November for that matter. And my concern is that it's supposed to go away, but they say that each week. And I'm starting to wonder whether we could have a repeat of 2015.
Yeah, that was a
16.
discussion at the conference I was at.
Uh-huh.
With the regulators from the state board,
And what it
and the
is-
Department of Water Resources, but they're inclined to think that also,
Oh, I-
that it's going to be a dry winter for us.
Because the rest of the nation is getting blitzed with storms and rain.
Yeah, the high ridge is kind of,
Because the
all the
thing
storms
is
are going
sending it
around
all the
us,
way
yeah.
again.
Alaska's doing great, Washington seems to be doing pretty good. Yeah, so that, no one has, you know, the models just don't predict, you know, haven't been able to predict our weather very well, patterns. But yes, that was definitely a concern and a discussion at the conference I was at. And, you know, and what it means really is that the state is going to continue on the path of more regulation, more water conservation, increasing reporting, increasing water loss regulations. So that's pretty much, you know, what I got out of the conference and the discussions regarding.
But the
our
reserves we picked up from the prior heavy last year, the really heavy
The
rain,
reservoirs,
the
yeah.
reservoirs,
Yeah.
have filled, and so we can withstand
multi-years of zero precipitation
Look,
we could handle,
This-
but nobody wants to admit that.
The
but that's
surface-
a fact.
We can handle it, I mean, but it's still, but.
Zero precipitation for 3 to 4 years.
Oh, really?
Surface water is doing very well. The Hetch Hetchy system is probably doing, it's probably one of the best
Right, yeah. it's what they were-
situations, yeah. Groundwater statewide, not where we are, but statewide is a huge concern for the state. One year wasn't enough to help, recover any of the
Right.
basins. And obviously, Northern California in general is doing better than Southern
Right.
California, so, but, the state treats us kind of all the same, so there, so I don't, basically, the concerns about precipitation going in the future is gonna impact the water district, no matter what our sources of water, whether we're able to
Right.
do it locally or import it or groundwater,
Okay, well-
whatever, yeah.
Just asking.
But we've invested substantially in becoming drought-ready. I think it's, the operating assumption is that it's not a question of if we're going to have another drought,
Right.
it's just when. And
Mhm.
we're, once AMI is implemented, we'll be far better prepared to
Yeah.
help our customers go through a drought. We have already weathered a lot of the economic pain that comes with reduced consumption, so. And that's
Well,
true,
good.
that's true across across a lot of utilities, so in many ways, we're better prepared. We use a lot less water now. That was really bad news for our rates, but it's good news for our drought resilience, so. We're much less, we lose less sleep, I think, now than we would have 3 or 4 years ago about the prospect of a drought, and that's due to the investment we're making.
So nonetheless, it's not if, it's when
Right.
we'll have this. And number two, it would be good if this continues for any period of time, just have, whatever. So that we communicate in some fashion
Everything you read in the,
about the fact that we do have this ability, based on what we've done,
right.
to withstand some of this should it become an issue. I'm just saying what we've done and why we've made the investments we've made, et cetera, so the public understands that, we're a little ahead of the game in what we've attempted and achieved so far.
But I think we're, all of the meteorologists say we're in uncharted territory.
Right.
I think Kathleen mentioned we're in uncharted territory. The models that they have based on 150 years of data don't predict the effects of climate change.
Well, there is
you know,
no climate change.
When was the last time we had 70, 2 weeks of 70-degree weather in
I agree, no, but
late December?
But there's no climate change.
All right, do we have any requests for agenda items for future board meetings? Chris? Bob?
Maybe at some point, we might get a little update on recycle and what's been happening. I haven't followed the press, the meetings held by other people.
Well, they're all involved, the
I-
three agencies are involved in suing each other over sewer, so.
Well, I don't know, maybe there is no update.
I don't think
mean,
they're really
that's fine.
talking to each other
We
right
had
now.
done some stuff about 3 months ago
Yeah.
to agree with some stuff that they proposed. And I was just thinking maybe January, February, you could give us
Yes.
an update on if things are moved at all.
Sure, we'll do that.
Just that kind of thing.
It's a great idea.
Ken?
I'd really like to hear an update on San Vicente. That's what I'd like to hear.
Right, we're still waiting for
Yeah,
that.
I'd like to know where that is and all the water use permits in Denison and all that
Yeah,
sort of.
the moving parts.
I'd like to know, we have this local source, we got this big machine and they're ready to operate with it, and I'd just like to know how reliable it is and what our expectations are going forward. That's what I'd like. And then I would, I think that, somebody asked me the other day, they go, what do you think's gonna happen with the weather? What would you call a normal year in the Coastside weather system? What year would you go to and say, that was our normal year? Because I've only been here since 1978, and I've never seen any year repeated, as long as I've been here. I mean, some years we have totally dry Decembers, some years we have totally dry Januaries, some years we have April miracles. I mean, it's just, That's just our weather condition. It's always been like that. I can't remember any 2 or 3 years where I would say it was a repeat. There have been similar amounts of rain, but it's always come in different times. I mean, I've just never seen it be consistent. It's a really, just a
Yeah, it
funny.
can come at any time, and this is not the driest December. I mean, there have been 2 drier Decembers, so this isn't as gloom and doomy
No, no,
and
no.
unusual. I mean, you just never know, yeah.
And it's funny how resilient the coast has always been,
Yeah.
because if you look at the average numbers, it's pretty
Do you
incredibly.
have any graphics, curves that
yeah.
would show a scatter, would show the number of years with a certain level of rainfall, the whole year?
It was in your last report.
Yeah, did you see it? It was that color thing. It was
Yeah.
Oh, is that what you
I
put
pulled
down?
it out and put it on my bulletin board. I thought it was so
That one,
cool. I was like, wow.
Maybe, okay. Maybe I gotta
I
put
can
that.
email it to you.
I
Email
love
that, would you? Show me what the,
I like to
what
put it
the
on the
general
wall back
trend
there.
was and what years were more or less alike and how many were lower and how many. Then you get some feel for what
Oh,
normality.
it'll blow you away, this
I
color.
thought I
the
saw
color-
that. I was gonna
oh,
say.
It's a
well, right.
fantastic
Okay,
graph.
thanks. Send me an email with that on, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have an item that needs review from a legal, can we do it point of view, and also from the board as to whether this is something that they feel is a good idea or not. So I'll put the idea out that we could, if it passes muster and it's feasible, we could put it as a future agenda item to discuss. When we were under drought conditions, which I think we all agree are like we should be preparing for future drought conditions, and this falls under that category. And also the individual who was flummoxed that he'd paid a lot of money for a water leak. So the question is, can we legally, and would the board be interested in having a modest but self-insured program where if, for instance, to use the leak, let's say that the water district exceeds its allotment from San Francisco and we get a fine for that. Remember how there's that fairly aggressive fine if we go over our allotment? I had a surprising number of constituents state that they didn't, if they were an egregious water user, they didn't want to pay, they didn't want that fine passed on to them, which was something that I was surprised about. I was like, well, you used it, why wouldn't you pay that fine? And they thought that the district should have more of we should have a reserve earmark to cover that. I don't know if that's legal. And then the second question that kind of came up that falls into the same genre is if somebody has had a pipe blow and gets a $500 water bill and their normal water bill is more like $100, is this something that we would have an assistance in? We have a pot of money where people are paying into it, and then that goes out on a one-time case to help somebody who's had a significant bill come in that was unplanned and unexpected. And I totally get that this is, I don't know if it's legal to do this, and I don't know if the board would be interested in doing this, but I was surprised at the number of constituents that I spoke with who thought this was something that the board might want to be able to do. And so I bring it as something that we could look at. You know, the first, I think, most important question, is it legal? And then the second question would be, would the board see value to doing something like that? And I think that one of the things that I think about is if we are in another drought scenario and a bill comes in that's egregious, do we have some method or mechanism for it? So that's my thought. Was that clear enough?
Not really, but, but I mean, I think I get your sense. I mean, you should put these on the agenda if the board
Right.
wants to do it, and then we can.
And we'll talk to you to clarify.
What
what
the
you'd
issues
really
are,
like
and
to
figure out
look
what
at.
the legal
Sure.
issues are versus what the policy issues.
Because I mean, I think that it's really clear if there's some things like we've talked about trying to assist folks on a limited income, and it's really clear that the laws around having a special case or a special rate are really very strict
Well,
and
usually it's because of revenue. If it's water revenue, you're not allowed to use it for anything other than that. And the only way
Right.
you can use anything other than that is if it's from another source, which we don't have. And this wouldn't seem to be much different than that.
So again, I think you should put this on the agenda,
Yeah,
because
the
anytime
question
you
is-
talk about,
The question is, do we want to debate it now, which we can't?
No, we
Or
can't.
put
we
it on
can't.
the
I don't
agenda?
want that, but I'm just wondering,
yeah.
Yeah, so
do
let's,
we want to put it on the agenda?
I mean, do we vote on whether we put it on the agenda?
Then we just do it by
no, you just
consensus?
direct your general
Yeah,
manager.
You
if
just
you'd like to
direct
have it on
him,
the-
it's already over. You're still president. Your word is law, you understand?
All right,
Yeah.
at a modest level,
We-
let's put it on the
we
agenda,
could
but let's
blow it
not.
off the agenda in 13 minutes.
Perfect.
You know,
There we go.
no problem.
All right.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Wow, you
So-
set another record.
There were
That
two
guy's
separate
amazing.
questions there that you need to identify. I mean, one was related to some penalty for exceeding the allocations is what I got. And
Right.
the other one is having some sort of a reserve to deal with leak issues. Those are, I think they're two different unrelated
I'm not sure they need to
questions.
be, because if you're doing a self-insurance fund for the customers, if either way, if they use too much water during a time of drought penalty, they're gonna get a big bill from us. And if they blow a line on, after their meter and get a big bill from us through water loss,
Well,
it's still an unexpected big bill.
the question is, should there be
Yeah, we'll put it on the
self-insurance?
agenda and
Should there
we'll
be
address it.
self-insurance
Perfect,
for
thank you. And I'm happy to-
unexpected-
Right.
And I'm happy to clarify any questions.
I'm glad to put the Christmas party.
So,
back.
Yes, I think Ken's right. We should put that back
We're
on
not
the
at a Christmas
agenda.
party.
We have a special meeting, you know.
yes, we have a special meeting following adjournment of this meeting with one agenda.
So should I
item.
adjourn this meeting then?
I would.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
All right, let's adjourn this meeting.
Before I speak up.
Then,
You don't want to hear what I have
we
to
have
say.
the special does everyone have a copy of the special meeting agenda?
All right, so I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Board of Directors Tuesday, December 12th. And this is
I'll tell you.
quite an agenda. Oh, no, that's not the agenda.
How
Do I
about
need to
roll
announce
call?
what it
How
is?
about roll call?
Roll call.
Director Coverdell.
Aye.
Vice President Feldman.
This means you get
Yes.
paid twice?
I mean, present or whatever.
Oh,
Oh, is it?
No,
not yet.
per day.
Yep. Director Glassberg.
Aye.
Director Michelson.
Yes.
President
Oh,
Reynolds.
here. Not I. Here.
All right. Do we have any public comment? Nope. All right. So having no public comment, we'll move on to general business, and we have an approval of a water service agreement with Coastside Estates LLC for 400 to 408 Redondo Beach Road.
Okay, I'll just say at the outset that the size and importance of this project is inversely proportional to the volume of paper. It's just due to the transactions involved and having to get everything right, it just got a little bit, we generated some paper.
Legal counsel.
This really is a very simple project. It involves about 200 feet of pipe that will benefit the district and the two residents, the two parcels that it serves. And Ocean Colony Partners, Bruce Russell, came to us probably a year ago, at least a year ago, and started talking to us about this. Basically, Ocean Colony, as Carnoustie, is acquiring a parcel, which is part of this larger parcel that will be created by the lot line adjustment, which the city of Half Moon Bay has already approved. And as a condition of the agreement between the owner, who is Coastside Estates LLC, and Carnoustie, Carnoustie is going to pay for the construction of this water line. So basically, if this had been, this would have been very trivial if it had been totally in a public right-of-way, but we have to get easements across two private parcels, and we are, and there are two entities involved, both Carnoustie and Coastside Estates LLC. So with a lot of back and forth over the last couple of days, our attorney and I have, and Gina have worked out this agreement. It's in the district's standard form. It will benefit the district. There's really there's no risk that I can think of to the district here. It will clean up what one of our legacy problem services for the older buildings on these parcels.
Is this George's old property?
Yeah, well, I think so, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's owned by Pilati. A guy named Pilati now was.
Okay.
That's
Right.
it, yes.
I think so. Anyway, the residences there were served by a very long line that comes from our main and Highway 1 through the golf course with no easement or anything, kind of through the woods there. So this will clean up that, service line and provide a new main just for these two parcels in Redondo Beach Road. It's clear, I don't know that there are any other developable parcels there, but it's clear that anybody else who develops will need to will need to do a mainline extension. So there's no fire hydrant on this line. We had a little argument with the fire department, and since there's no fire hydrant now, we're not putting one in.
Oh,
So
wow.
it isn't really extending, it's not really extending the district's service. So this water service agreement does what we need to do in terms of imposing the district's terms and conditions on Coastside Estates.
Comments?
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm fine with this. I don't see anything wrong with it, so I'd move we approve it. But I don't think $1 million is adequate insurance anymore. I think we need to bump it to $2 million. Just don't, I mean, I can't think of a specific example why, but $1 million these days disappears at the,
Even at a personal level, I would
oh
agree.
my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, it disappears at the administrative level of a law office. And so I just don't think it's adequate. And I think that's something we should look at very carefully going forward. It's just amazing how numbers have changed in our society. I'm sorry to say that, I wish they hadn't, but I don't think it's enough.
The work that's being done is specifically for parcel F and parcel 2,
Yes.
the two
Only.
pieces of property
Yes.
on Redondo Beach.
Yes.
Okay. Not parcel H.
Right, parcel H will be served, that'll be a new subdivision that'll be served with a separate water service agreement. They'll bring the water from there off of the main and Bay Hill Road.
Okay.
What's the size of the service we're running in there?
Well, the line is 8 inches, I think.
To these two houses?
Yeah,
No hydrant on the end.
no hydrant.
So how are you gonna flush it?
But there's a blow-off.
How big?
I don't know.
So
It gets in
typically,
the plans.
yeah, so typically it's done as a 2-inch and a 2-inch.
These plans are prepared by the applicant's engineer,
Yeah.
reviewed in great detail and at length. This was
But who's gonna own this line?
this was reviewed and approved by our district engineer. So that is our standard procedure.
So let me cut to
right.
the chase. We own the water quality in that line. And if you have an 8-inch line with a 2-inch blow-off in the street, we'll get a disinfection byproduct on that we can't flush out. And the old standards where we weren't required to test or monitor for disinfection byproducts, that wasn't an issue, so you could get by with a 2-inch blow-off. But you put an 8-inch line in with only a 2-inch blow-off, the water quality in that will be stagnant, and you can't flow it out. So I would argue back that to comply with today's standards, we either need to require them to put a hydrant in there so you can flow it, or a smaller line so that you don't have stagnant water. But you need, for a 8-inch line, you need at least 850 gallons a minute to get 5 feet per second to flush that line. And a 2-inch blow-off will only do about 200 gallons a minute, so you can't clean the line, so you have dirty water. And we own the water, not the customer. Even though they're paying for it, even though their engineer designed it, he saves $2,000 on not putting a hydrant in, and our distribution team is stuck with crappy water in our pipe, and it's our problem.
We can, we'll review that. We
Thank you.
can impose that. We'll take a look at that.
Thank you.
Why don't you request a fire hydrant?
I do. I mean, that's what I require.
So
And just say they
amend
can't.
the motion.
Well, we'll take a look at that.
I think we should
there's a
pass
reason we
this, but I
have
don't
a-
think you
yeah.
guys should be stuck with another engineer designing it, giving us then equipment that gives us
Kind of
lousy.
getting over on us is kind of what I'm taking. at.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And it, yeah,
No,
gets me
How
hot.
how often would we have to flush it?
So districts that are having trouble, let's say that the house is used as a weekend facility or a seasonal spot, and the house sits vacant. The state is now going through and saying that distribution legs that aren't turning over have to be tested for disinfection byproducts, which is a reaction of chlorine and organic water. Since we're surface water, we are prime subjects for that. So you go and you take a sample, it's bad, you got no way to flush it, you're stuck. And I've been burned on this a bunch of times.
So let's say we had a hydrant in there, how often would we have to flush that hydrant?
If no one was using the water, this is exactly what happened in Morgan Hill. A development got put in, they didn't build the houses, but they put the 8-inch pipe in. The water utility there is having to flush every 2 to 3 weeks in the summer.
And how many gallons is a flush?
It's the length of the line for 3 pipe volumes, so in this case, it'd be a couple thousand gallons.
A few units on a regular basis blown into the ditch.
Yep.
Better make them put in a water feature then, right? Enjoy the water.
We'll evaluate that. I can assure you that there's not, these guys are not trying to save $2,000. If we ask them to if we ask them to make any change, they will do it. So we'll look at that. If there's a better way to, and I'm not familiar with the thinking that went into the design or the district engineer's review. We can go back and reevaluate that in light of these concerns. And if we decide there's a better design, then we can require that and they'll do it.
So I looked at this earlier today on my cell phone, and the first time I'm seeing it on paper. Is there a loop opportunity, or is it just absolutely out of the question?
I don't think there's any loop opportunity.
So-
I can't think of one.
Can I make a motion that we move forward with the understanding that the district will make sure that we are specifying to our best interest the pipe that gets put in?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd make a motion that
If
we...
you'll allow the staff if you'll rely on the staff's judgment in that regard.
Oh, absolutely. A complete confidence.
Okay.
Yeah, so absolutely. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this, requesting that the staff make sure that we're getting a water
File
line.
for an amendment,
Are
because
you
I already
amending?
made a motion.
Ken made a motion, so are you amending it?
Oh, I didn't realize, I'm sorry, I
No, no, but
apologize.
I don't care, I don't want to mess up her paperwork. She's very meticulous, she pays a lot of attention to detail.
It's a
And I don't want it to look, all out of whack. I mean, I could withdraw my motion if you.
No,
prefer.
no,
I'm fine.
so I'd like to make an amendment to Ken's motion.
And I would accept the amendment. Who was the seconder of the motion? Was there one?
I don't think there
I
was
don't think
one.
we got
So it
that.
wasn't even a motion. Okay, so
No, it just
you're.
didn't get seconded.
You're on a roll.
Do you want a
I got no
second?
I would be happy to.
All right, we have a
It'd be my
second.
pleasure.
All right.
So now it could actually be your motion with his second, because my motion.
Do I have to withdraw my second
I'm
now? It's his
exhausted.
motion.
Don't want to follow it?
Okay, can we move on to a roll call
What's the
really quick?
motion?
So we have
Yeah.
we have a motion to approve this.
To authorize the general
To
manager to
authorize.
execute the water service agreement with Coastside Estates in the form attached, subject to any modifications that may be approved by the general manager and general counsel. And what did you want to add to that?
That was it.
That was it, you said it.
It said that.
That's what the staff
That's what
recommendation
it
is.
is, yeah.
Well, except what he wants to add
And the
to
staff
that
has
is he
direction
wants staff
To review the
Look at
engineering
the
to make
water
sure it conforms
quality
with our
issues.
specs.
Make sure
Pipe
there aren't
sizing.
water
Yep.
quality issues going forward.
Yep,
And we'll do that.
thank you. All
I'd be
right,
happy to put in a smaller pipe.
I'll second that. His motion.
Would you like a roll call vote?
Yes, please. Quick.
Director Coverdell,
Could you reread the motion? Aye.
Vice President Feldman,
Yes.
Director Glassberg.
Aye.
Director Michelson,
Yes.
President Reynolds.
Yes, and thanks, like, once again, for adding your technical
Yes.
expertise and catching this, because the way I see it, this is forever. I mean, we don't catch it today.
We live
This
with
is
it.
in perpetuity.
Yep, we live with it.
Yeah, so thanks
Yep.
for your,
Sorry to be such a stickler for details. As Bob pointed out, it's me and details. All right, I close the meeting.
You had your last shot.